Hello everyone and welcome to our I Pick My Butt video. More Archero today and we have done it. We've beaten chapter 24 and I gotta say this one actually seemed to go pretty easy for me with almost 17,000 attack and a little bit over 44,000 health using the Demon Blade. I just want to kind of get a little deep with you here because this is something that I've said in past videos. I get a lot of comments and I tell people just keep on playing. You'll get that one run that just feels like it's super easy. And this is the case once again. I'm struggling to beat it. I get all the perfect RNG and then finally everything just goes nice and smoothly inside the game. I've talked with people in the comments. I've seen people say that they play the same chapter over and over. Normally they do 5,000 attack damage. All of a sudden they're doing 10,000. They take damage at 20,000 and then all of a sudden they get hit for 30,000. It's kind of weird and it almost seems like there's this hidden algorithm inside the game that's just going to say every now and then, we're just going to give you an easy shot to beat this. If you beat it, congratulations. If not, shame on you. You can struggle another 30-40 times before we give you that opportunity again. And as I play this more and more, that's what I'm seeing. It really feels like this is in here. I really want to know from you guys if that's how you feel on it. But to me, I think there's something hidden inside the code that we can't see. Now, as far as the gameplay, you heard me say it, Demon Blade, I'm using a Perfect Epic. Level 50 is what I'm currently at the moment. So because of that, I'm a little bit lower than I'd like to be on attack damage. So I am rocking 2 Lion Rings just to get a little bit of that attack boost. And I finally did score those, was it level 16 buffs for the jewels there that give you the attack boost. So I'm finally rocking those of the 2 plus 5%. And I think the other one gives you like plus 500. But at any rate, I'm very proud I finally got those because I was kind of grinding a little bit for those. Now, as far as with the first item I grabbed, I did get the diagonal arrows, which is great. We're going to grab the bounty walls. That seemed a little bit better than getting the Pearson shot to me. I did think about re-rolling here, and I was kind of left a little bit on the screwed side with it. So it took me a second, but I figured, you know what? I know the spirit stuff gives bonuses. I can never remember which one gives which, but luckily the multi-shot one there for the spirits does give some crit boost. So I'm going to take that. Now, these first couple of waves that I go through, stage 1, stage 3, I'm not going to really use my ult at all. The fact that I got those diagonals, I'm going to just kind of go up and try to run around and hit them as I can. As far as the diag versus side arrows, I would have preferred to have side, although the bouncy is helping. The big difference is you're going to still hit them 3 times. It's all about that kind of span or that circle around you of what you're going to be hitting when you're doing the melee. But as you can see, we're just kind of rocking through here. This can always be a little bit tough when you get the 4 orb guys out. Try to kill the one that's closest to you first, and then you can kind of see how I'm just maneuvering, doing kind of a little loop around with it, and hopefully I get rid of them. Now, as far as these laser mages, they have been a pain ever since I first ran into them. I think it was like chapter 15, was it? Maybe we first saw them. But I've learned now, instead of doing a stutter step, or even as I called them before, in a micro step, we're doing a macro step here. You really got to step big to dodge those things. And if you can kind of get the feel out for that, if you go through this whole chapter kind of doing big steps in between, you should be pretty much in good shape. As far as the Scythe Mages, I'm going to go for them right away because for some reason in Archero, I always have a very hard time with them and also have a very hard time with Bombers. Doesn't matter what, they always seem to get me. And living up in here in the north, it gets a little bit cold and it's kind of like driving inside the snow. They always say, if you're going and you're sliding on ice, always try to look at the direction that you want to go to. Don't look at the other car because naturally you're going to go and crash in the other car. It's just the way the brain works. And I think I do that a lot with those scythes. I see them and I'm looking at them and I go right for them. So I was trying to look elsewhere and trying to plan a little bit. And I think that really saved me this time. Now, there was a big fail on this here when I did my ult. But typically I like to try to get these guys together, tap the ult, and start the timing off on it. But this was actually my first run for the day, and the ult didn't really pay off as well as I should have. Now, if I do get it off right, I can usually kill those guys right on the spot right there. If I ever have a moment where I don't, I only kill one, then I play it safe. A one-on-one is a lot easier than playing that 2 against 1. So we did grab the Rico on it, and I was surprised how much that actually helped on this. I mean, with having the diag on it, we're going to grab multi-shot later on inside it. It just seemed like things were just pinging left and right and just zapping all over the place. I was really loving it. For the laser bats, do not get fooled by them. Yes, they do have a really slow delayed shot. You see that arrow out there for a while, but even though that arrow is as thin as it looks, it does have a pretty wide range of hitting on you there. So definitely something to keep in mind. Don't think you're safe at all times. Now, the nice thing I do like about having the Demon Blade and using Guju is that collision damage, especially when you're using the melee. So if I do find things getting a little bit overwhelmed with enemies on this, I will go in and try to get some melees just so it'll kind of nullify that hit there. And another thing to keep in mind too, I am using the Bright Robe on this because I wanted to level up. I did want the extra hit points, but this is a great chapter to use the Shadow Robe in. Especially if you can get the elemental upgrade on it. I've said this before, I say it a lot, I get a lot of comments about it. Getting Dark Touch or having a Dark Touch ability with the elemental upgrade will stack the damage for every additional enemy that gets hit by it. That's how I did my 100 million damage video there, the 26 million, whichever one you want to see there. It's an easy way to quickly clear out the room, or at least clear out about half the enemies on it if they are all grouped together. Now, on a totally separate note, not related to this actual chapter at all, I made a video the other day about farming and flying bullets, and I said, hey, at least we get 6 items now on it. I did do the test. I took some footage videos before I ran it. I did grab 6 items during it. It erased one of the items, unfortunately, and when I went in to check afterwards, I only did get 5 items. So unfortunately, we're not getting 6 items out of Flying Bullet, which is kind of garbage, but hey, it is what it is. Now, we just grabbed the Attack Major there, which I was kind of excited about the piercing shot, and I said, you know, these guys are getting a little bit tough to hit. They're not going down as fast as I like, so I took the attack, and luckily that piercing shot came back right afterwards. Now, I know from using a tornado, that's another question I see from time to time. If you have Rico, why are you grabbing the piercing? Why are you grabbing the bouncy? And, you know, my thought is if I go through just one single enemy and they're not going to get hit by the Rico, then I want to make sure I have as much as I can to have things bounce off, go through, and just keep those arrows alive and flying around. As far as this stage right here, I'm not really a fan of having boulders in the middle of the thing, but it really does help out. I really would prefer to have something a little bit more open and clear, but use these to your advantage. Yes, it is nice to have those arrows flying and not get bounced off by a wall, but think you got those little tiny rocks that you can never see with all the projectiles on the screens. You do have the Scythe orbs there that will just kind of make things even more miserable for you if they do land on you. And for me, I'm just kind of trying to work my way back left to right just to kind of make sure I can get everybody in there. Obviously, if things do get overwhelmed, you're going to be trapped in a corner. These little bounty guys, I've learned from time to time that luckily I'm killing them right now, but it's a lot of running back and forth. The downfall of running, though, is you're not firing those shots, so just keep that in mind too. Play to your style and what feels comfortable. Other things that I'm using, my pets really don't matter, but we are using an elf, we are using a bat. I think I got them both back down to level 1, so I did get the coins on there. And then as far as the actual items for bracelet, locket, and even the book, we are still rocking the Arcane Archer. The reason why I'm liking to use that is because I do have it at one of my higher rarities, and I like to be in full control now of when I can actually activate this all. Back in the day, I used to say I like the auto ones better because I couldn't have the patience and timing to figure out how to double tap on it. I still struggle with it, but I really like being able to save it up for going into the boss. Now, this was tough right here, Rage Invincibility Star. I said I'm going to go Invincibility Start because I want that added protection with all the mobs on there, but Rage still would have been a solid choice. And then these bosses, the pigs, they're probably the squishiest inside this chapter that you can get, so hopefully you get them and just drop them real easily like I did here. But back to the items themselves, I am using the Frozen Bracelet right now, and you might be wondering, Pick, why are you doing that? It's because I have it at Ancient Legendary. That's extra attack damage because I have it leveled up. If I could, I probably would be using the Quick Shot Bracelet or the Invincibility one, and really if I had them high enough, that would be the case, but unfortunately I don't. And then of course is the Locket, Angel Locket all the way. It's always been my favorite. It just seems smart to have that extra kind of savior to have around that if I do get hit, slows everything down, I get some health, and I have one more last shot at it. And you can see we are starting to get some more scarecrows inside here. They seem to be pretty tanky too. They got a lot of hit points on them. So just like the actual orb mages, if you can take one out ahead of time, go for it. The crossbows, you know, they were so scary when we ran into them in like chapter 3, but now you just see them and it's like, okay, this is going to be probably the easiest thing I can dodge, and they don't seem to be as tanky as the scarecrows in this either. But really, this is just kind of going pretty smooth. Once again, as I was saying, you saw those arrows there. I'm going to start meleeing, try to kind of just take some of the aggro off of me there, and if it does hit me, it shouldn't hit too hard. But like I said, this is just simple, easy go. I mean, there wasn't any point except for when I got to the final boss there where I really kind of started getting nervous and going, oh geez, this is a little hard. What am I going to do? But everything up to this point, you can see it. I mean, we're still pretty stacked on health. We never really got low on it, and we're just kind of breezing our way through. Now, I was missing some health there and a pretty decent chunk of it, but I could have taken it. Instead, I went for the strong heart because, as I said, things seemed to be pretty easy for me. I felt comfortable with going and trying to get some hearts from killing some monsters and kind of increasing my health that way. But don't ever feel bad if you're only down like 500 or 1,000. You know, you're only losing 10% or missing 10% of your health, and you grab that heal. If it makes you feel comfortable, go for it. It's not the end of the world. Yes, it can save you a lot of times. Really, a lot of this is kind of just knowing your feel for things and just kind of playing the game, having fun. If there's one thing I could really say that I dislike about this chapter, it's having 7 waves in here, which I keep on thinking, you know, it used to be 5 waves. They're doing the ones where they're throwing a couple of enemies down for the single wave or the 30 wave ones. I wonder how long it's going to be before we see a 9 wave. I don't know if it is in the later chapters because I haven't made it there yet. We're going to grind, see if we can get up there. But honestly, I really haven't been grinding too much to chapters. I really want to get my Guju up to 7 stars, so by the time I come home, I play a couple other video games, and then I go in this, do my dailies, probably spend maybe anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour on Archero during the weekdays. During the weekend, we're going to play it a little bit more, but even with that, I mean, you get Saturday comes around, you get 20 energy you got to spend on up-close dangers, and then another 10 on flying bullets. There's 30 right there, and then by that point, it's like, okay, I'm going to watch some ads, start saving up for the rest of this stuff, and it's just a lot of energy to go through. I really wish they would have given us a little bit more, given all the benefits that they gave us in the recent update with the coins and stuff. Now, you'll see when I go in here, I don't know why I do this every time. I figured, I got the invincibility star. Let me go up and start thwacking this thing with the ult on, and you see how much damage I take. Guys, this is chapter 12 all over again. This is the final boss on it. You know how to dodge this. It's not that bad. I mean, you can just easily dodge the lightning bolts and then just kind of work your way back and forth and the rest of it. I'm doing with 1. It's not that hard with 2. These are probably the bosses that I have the best luck on because everything's stationary, stuff's coming nice and slow at you, and it's really easy for me to plan on it. It's the things that are moving around and swinging and spinning, that's where I kind of struggle with. But like I said, don't do what I do. Don't go up in there and start mashing it unless you really have issues with that style boss. But I think everybody should be pretty well set off with being in chapter 12 and playing that. Now, I always consider this point right here the home run, the final stretch, because it's like, all right, I've made it past that last boss. It's kind of the mark of how I use, you know, which boss am I at? And I just figure, I gotta survive this. I keep on thinking to myself, I still have that extra health, or the extra life, I should say. Don't do anything stupid, which I'm very good at doing a lot of stupid things inside the game, but I'm just kind of trying to play smart, do those macro steps that I'm talking about, and you can see here, I'm like, okay, I gotta do something quick, but things are just firing away. So really though, this didn't seem as bad as it looks on the screen. I mean, things still kind of went nice and smooth, and that all comes back to, I think this was really just one of those runs. And we've pretty much seen all the different enemies inside this game. I didn't mention the candle bosses at all, or the chicken heads, whatever you want to call them, but they don't seem to be too difficult there. I mean, that's such a slow projectile. If you have things a block like we do here, it's pretty fair, well off easy. But if they are open, those guys can put you in an uncomfortable situation if you let them. So if you have to, go after them first. For me, I was just in the habit of just constantly moving, trying to fire off, and just wherever it bounces, wherever it goes through, that's the approach I was going with. Not sure if it's going to pick it up, and I don't feel like waiting, but my wife just got home and the dogs are barking in the background, so hopefully they shut up in the meantime. But I will say, when we did get to the final boss, it was a little sketchy. It only lasted a full minute here, you know, not including the 30 seconds it took me to watch the ad to revive. But I will say it was a little nerve-wracking because I did die maybe when it was about 30% health left. I said, let me go and try to whack him a couple of times, and just like those towers, it didn't go over too well for me, and I just barely beat him with the skin of my teeth. If that is an expression or how the expression goes, I think it is, but as you can see here, this is kind of the final one, and I'm feeling pretty good. Health is still up there solid at the moment, and I'm liking it. So when I did go into the final boss, it didn't seem too bad. It just seems like he really hits hard. We'll go over the steps in it in a second, but really just a matter of going through here. We're already maxed out. We maxed out at like stage 10 of having it, and I think that's a lot of having the bright robe on, just having that increase of the actual meter. And then I think the other part of it was my Guju being 4 stars there, that's also affecting it too. I'm still really haven't proven that. I mean, I looked at one video, I haven't done a lot of research, but I'm pretty sure that's what that intelligence is on that 4-star, is the actual meter charging up, was it 10 or 15% times faster. The jumpy guys, they're making me a little nervous, but luckily the invincibility star is pulling through. And I'd say if you do get the opportunity, you know, put that one high up on the tier list there of that invincibility star, because it really is going to help out with how much you guys attack, how many enemies are on the screen, and what you can do to kind of just freely run away from stuff if you need to, or freely run into it and get those thwacks in if you are using the Demon Blade, which, let's be honest, the Demon Blade is the way to go. So no more waves left. This is the last of it right here. We did get some items too. I think I saw a bright robe in there. And we are finally into the final boss with still some good health. So I'm going to grab the attack speed there. Now, a couple of different attacks he's going to do. The charge, that can be a very difficult one to dodge. You saw me try to do the ult there. As far as him shooting the 2 kind of tornado things, those are pretty easy to step across from if you do have the distance on them. The other thing to keep in mind that can be a little bit difficult is when he goes and drops the bombs, kind of keep it like a perpendicular walkway on it. So like the letter T, you see one slice going one way, you want to go the branch off of it. I didn't do too well there, and that kind of definitely hurt me. And then having the mobs on there too is another big thing, that you want to get rid of those guys if you can. The other last little one he kind of has that kind of blade right there that comes out. Those are probably the ones I really haven't figured out yet. But as you can see here, we're going in, we're trying to do some slashing. It's not going as well, and I'm starting to lose the health. And man, oh man, I thought I was almost done for on it, but luckily we beat it. So let me know what you guys think on this. Let me know what's working for you. Other than that, don't forget, like, subscribe, and remember, I pick my butt.